It's time once more to find Northern Ireland's House of the Year. We've got a wonderfully wide variety of houses, each with something special, something unique to offer. But who's going to be making those all-important decisions? Time to meet the judges. Returning once again, head judge, award-winning residential architect Des Ewing, and international interior designer Suzanne Garuda. They're joined by Manhattan-based interior and product designer Michael Tavano.
I'm looking at color, scale, texture, lighting, how the rooms flow from one to the other, how they relate.
There should be nothing in the house that doesn't work in terms of its circulation and in terms of its durability, and it's got to look beautiful as well.
A good interior really should lift your spirits. It should really nurture you, revive you, and ultimately a good interior should be a pleasure to live in.
So there we are, 3 super stylish judges, 12 absolutely stunning properties, but only one winner. So let the games begin. Well, here we are, back again with the show that absolutely everybody's been talking about. Trust me, I am as excited as you are. And we will be travelling on your behalf the length and breadth of the country, trying to winkle out some wonderful properties, any one of which could be the winner of this year's House of the Year. Will we find better than previous series? Well, you're just going to have to stay right there, keep watching, and find out. But without further ado, let's see what's on today's menu. Will this year's winner be this lakeside family home in Enniskillen sitting high on the banks above lovely Lough Erne? Or will it be this stylish contemporary beach house on the seafront in Cloggy, County Down? Or will it be our first house, a spectacular restoration? In fact, it's a reinvigoration of a 19th century Gothic church that also includes a very creative Japanese-inspired new build annex, and you don't see many of those in County Fermanagh. Built in 1841, the church was acquired in 1996 by its current owners Molly and Jimmy Armstrong, who fell in love with it but had no idea what to do with it. After some years, they commissioned their son, Nathan, an architect living and working in Tokyo, to design a Japanese-inspired home with a contemporary barn extension. The church became the functional living space, whilst the barn is the sleeping quarters. The Japanese influence is visible throughout, in the bedrooms, washroom, and in a tatami mat reading bed in the link corridor, and in the Japanese gravel garden. It's a very unusual fusion between Victorian Gothic and then this incredibly elegant, very light contemporary Japanese inspired style.
It's beautiful to live in, and it is calm, and it's the angularity of all the spaces that is so interesting for us. This extraordinary family link as well, because it's your son Nathan that's done all the architectural work. He's married to a Japanese girl and he's living in Japan with his 3 sons. It's a bit far away for an architect, but we managed to set up a communication system which worked, really worked. With Dad as project manager? Yes. Driving the dump truck? Yes.
Exactly. It wouldn't have been possible, I think, if it hadn't been Nathan providing very good working drawings. The working drawings, to me, were really the key to the finish of the project.
I mean, this is what's so extraordinary about this whole building, is there's nowhere to hide. With this perfection of detail, you can't sort of paper over the cracks or paint it a bright colour. It's all got to be absolutely perfect. So you must, as a family, be enormously proud of what you've done.
We are, but we enjoy it.
It really is an absolutely fascinating building. Let's go and see what Des thinks about the architecture outside. You must love this place because it's got more architecture than you can shake an architecture-shaped stick
This
at.
is a project that's just got everything.
It's extraordinary, though. It's extraordinary.
The church is too small, so it had to be extended. Two ways of doing it. You either make a replica of the church, which is very common in the way it would be done on most occasions. This is much braver, where we're doing something that blends in, where there's a confidence that it's going to blend in. It's not going to take away from the beautiful church. It's got a restoration, which is absolutely authentic. It's got lime, it's cleaned back the sandstone, slate roof, cast iron gutters, and then it's got the extension.
Yeah.
And look at that.
Yeah.
It is so simple. It doesn't take away from the church and doesn't crowd it. The little link keeps
No.
it politely away from it. The simplicity is the important element here. Who would have thought this little link works? But it is beautiful. Externally, it keeps the two parts apart. Internally, it's the most beautiful part of the house.
I think, to me, there's such a strong sense of personality through all of this that you know, everybody here, the design team are making their own decisions. They're not worried about fashion, they're not worried about style, they're not worried about what other people think.
That's it.
They just like it, and so the emotion kind of carries you through.
Yeah. It presents itself beautifully. It sits so well in the countryside. It's great to see something so polite.
Well, Des definitely been seduced by its complex simplicity, or should that be simple complexity? Let's go inside and see what Michael thinks. Well, I think you're being well and truly spot. Imagine, Michael, this is your first ever House of the Year contender. What a beauty.
It's unbelievable. And if this is what I have to look at my entire time here, I'm going to be so spoiled. They stripped this place back and created this amazing modern temple, maybe, if you will. So they've done all this lovely oak, this Irish oak that's here. And usually oak is a very cold wood to me. This is very warm feeling here. And they've done touches like that through the whole place. You don't feel like you're in this big, vast open space. It has a sense of warmth and comfort to it. The pod that's up here where Molly does her needlework that she does, she can look at these gorgeous Gothic windows behind us. It's just lovely views everywhere you look.
This is a very, very elegant, very contemporary kitchen.
It is, and it works in here because it has a zen-like quality to it. You know, it has the Corian countertops that are just beautiful, the way they're done. It's an easy workspace. You can get a lot done in here. It cleans up quickly, not a lot on the counters. Again, going back to that zen feeling.
I mean, this is what they call in New York style manuals eclecticism,
It
isn't
is, at its best, I think.
Because it's
really
not bought
done it.
off the shelf. It's
No,
something
it
that's
isn't.
grown.
It's personal, and there are things that most people say, oh, well, it's not in trend, it's not in style. Trend and style is about your personality, and this house is full of personality.
I reckon that's a T-shirt.
That's
That's a very good T-shirt slogan. Excellent. Well, it sounds like Michael is extremely impressed. Suzanne is checking out the living quarters. Let's go and catch up with her. It is all extremely clever because the reason the church feels so uncluttered is because all the living happens here, but very elegantly.
Beautifully designed. I mean, right through from the screens which divide the bedrooms, the Japanese bath, amazing.
yeah.
Oh, beautiful. It's just so well designed.
And again, these double height spaces, so that there's a constant feeling of space. But I mean, this is probably my favourite bit.
This is the most beautiful link corridor I think I've ever been in.
But it could, I mean, for most people, this would have just been written off because it's just a space that unites the church with where everybody's living.
Yeah.
But here it's considered as an experience in its own right.
Well, it's a link from the past to the present. It's a link that is actually a relaxation area.
Yeah.
It's connected to the outside. You've got the beautiful Japanese garden. It's very, very zen.
I mean, obviously, a commercial development, a corridor area like this just simply wouldn't happen because it's a luxury of space. But obviously, for Molly and for Jimmy, they're making the decisions. They're calling the shots. And
Absolutely.
you can really tell they enjoy this.
But so much attention to detail has gone into this one space. The fact that you've got the Japanese garden outside and all the layers which are in that. Then you've got this tatami mat, which is lovely. It's so relaxing. There's a real serenity about this space. It's the attention to detail, even in the small things, which makes this so completely successful.
Well, there we have house number 1, Jimmy and Molly's Gothic church conversion with this extremely elegant Japanese-inspired new build annex. A fitting start to this year's quest to find House of the Year. Let's meet house number 2. Our next house really wouldn't look out of place in Malibu or Muscle Beach, but this is Clucky in County Down on the Ards Peninsula, so no chance of any East Coast weather. And in fact, despite all of its glamorous jet-set LA styling, the most surprising thing about this property is its small budget. Sited right on the seashore in Clocky, this contemporary beach house was designed by its architect-owner Lee Jenkinson and project managed by himself and his wife Kate. Elegant and cool, it was completed on a very modest budget. They already had the site and cleverly only spent money on quality finishes where necessary. The exterior is cedar, which not only looks good, it's also excellent for insulation. And internally it's stylish and tailored, with a contemporary kitchen living space and incredible sea views. A very imaginative feature is an internal 20-foot well dating from 1826, uncovered during the build. There's a landscaped sea garden to the side and a very James Bond-esque turning circle, necessary because of the contained nature of the site. Are you very proud of him, what he's done here?
Yes, and he's worked very hard, so he has.
She didn't even think about it. Did you see that? Straight in there. Yes, I am proud of Lee. Because it's a very, very swanky pad. It's not about money, this place, is it, at all?
No.
No. Very much a budget. And what you can achieve on a budget. Because our circumstances would have changed just before we started. We would have kind of lost about a third of our budget. So it was touch and go whether we did it at all.
Did you find that you were forced to find new ways of doing things?
Say, for example, like the edge detail, that would have had quite a lot of stainless steel in it, and kind of pared it down to something that Dad and I could have just clipped on.
What's it actually like to live in?
The house is brilliant. It's lovely and warm. One thing I really love is heat. I haven't even had the heat on since we've been in. And the kids have got lots of storage now for their toys. It's brilliant. So just the layout and the design.
Have you got lots of storage for the kids? Because I think that's quite important, you know.
That's why we have the TV room.
It's snug. That's where they go.
How much did it actually cost?
170,000 minus 12,000 VAT, so 150.
Blimey. Do you do gift wrapping? No, I mean, the thing is that it really does look as if it should be on the cover of a glossy magazine. And who knows, perhaps it will be on the cover of a glossy magazine when it wins House of the Year. Is it going to? Let's go and join Des down on the beach to see what he thinks about the architecture. Obviously, the big story here is how much good value this place was. Does that look like a cheap house?
Not to me. When you compare, this is the equivalent of a townhouse in the city.
Yeah.
We can have this beautiful house by the beach.
Do you feel that actually more houses should be built like this? Because he's used design rather than throwing expensive materials.
He's gone over it and over it, reducing budget all the time. Because it's by the beach, it's got these tremendous views. All you need is something that is very simple, has got sensible accommodation and makes the most of the link with the water. And he's done that, and he's done that on a very tight site with a very difficult planning constraints.
I think the other thing that I find very interesting is also this kind of subplot, if you like, about disabled access, because it's not obvious, is it?
It just makes the building very simple and a joy to use because everything is so level and easy. There isn't a big disabled ramp at the entrance. In fact, at the entrance there's the turning circle for the car. I've not had to go yet. It also means that he's got a bit more shelter around the door, which is a necessity. And this building has been designed out of necessity, and what has been achieved is something that's a little piece of art.
Well, there's no doubt about it. This house is a triumph of design over budget. And although this isn't the east coast of America, in fact, that's looking a little bit Malibu, I think it looks sensational on the beach. But let's find out what Suzanne thinks about the interiors. Well, for all its LA-inspired loveliness, couldn't be further from LA weather, could it? Very Northern Irish.
There is a real continental feeling about this house.
Very
It's quite
international.
it is very European. There's a lot of energy you get by living by the sea, and that is what's so beautiful about this location. And they have really maximised this with the windows. And the fact that they're just solid plate glass windows rather than doors because of the sand coming in
Well, I
and then
suppose
that fantastic balustrade.
But I suppose that's because they've been on the site for 8 years. They know that actually, you know,
Yeah.
it would be lovely to have doors there, but they simply wouldn't work. They wouldn't be practical.
Yeah.
They would become.
I mean, that's the thing about having lived here before. They
Mm.
learned a lot about the site and knew how to position everything. So
wonderful.
it works very, very well. But the thing I really like about this house is it shows what we're going to have to do more of now. This house has been done to a very, very tight budget, but it's been very well thought out.
Yeah.
The people have informed themselves, they've looked it around, they've picked something that they like the style of.
Everything here is pretty straightforward, high street stuff, but it's the mix, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's the way it's put together that makes it personal
absolutely.
and fresh.
And that's what's happening now. They've got a bit less cash,
Yeah.
but a bit more confidence, and that's great. I think that is going to change the way we see design here.
It is high chic, but from the high street. Let's go and find Michael, who's having a look at the living rooms. Right, where are you? There you are. You're not easy to miss here.
I'm in the den. This is a really cute den.
No, this is a snug.
A snug.
This
How
is
cute
snug.
is that? Well, it is kind of snug in here, but it's
Exactly.
well done. You know, this is where the kids watch TV. They've done a great job with the privacy, with the window behind
Yep.
us up high.
Yeah.
This wall is really interesting. It's the curve from the car turnstile
Yeah.
out front.
Do you think that would have been nice with a bit of colour on it, maybe? Or maybe
I
a
do.
pattern?
There needs to be more color in here. I'd like to see more color. In small spaces, color works. The bathroom, I like the use of shiny and matte tiles on the
Yeah.
wall. It gives some depth to it. And then this is really, really, really pretty outrageous. This well that they found when they were excavating, that dates back to 1826.
But it's a nice way of
It-
bringing a bit of history, but in a very contemporary
yes,
way.
it really, really is. And
There we go
So-
across.
careful, careful.
It's a bit like Indiana Jones's snake pit. Indiana O. Jones.
And I want to show you in here. It's a small little room. It has great views.
Yes.
And there's some great little DIYs that they did in here. You know, what he
I
did
love
to the
that.
window, isn't that brilliant? It's like a shadow box lit with the painting. It's quite adorable, but this view is what makes
Yeah.
it for me. To
Yeah.
wake up and look at that is really pretty special.
A DIY Malibu beach house, but without an LA price tag. Very impressive. House number 2. Now on to house number 3. And so, on to our third and final house. It's a characterful new build here in Enniskillen, situated high above the banks of Loch Earn to make the most of these spectacular views of water rolling through the lush countryside. Yum! It's the perfect location, but what's the house like?
This grand lakeside family home is the property of Richard Cooper, who acquired the site 5 years ago with the dream to build a large house close to town but still have spectacular views of Loch Earn. He wanted to create plenty of space for kids to run around, but also to have some grown-up areas as well. Rustic finishes are used to create coziness in the open-plan kitchen living space, whilst areas such as the dining room and master bedroom have a chic, contemporary feel. An impressive feature is this stone-clad tower, which houses a spiral staircase.
This is the most astonishingly beautiful view. Do you have links, family links with the area?
Yes, my mum and dad used to live down in that house down there. So,
That one there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my mind I always wanted something that had a view of the lake. I was always on the lake when I was young, and always wanted to be close to it.
Because the thing that strikes me about the house is that there are a lot of traditional references, but it still feels very, very modern inside in the way that you obviously want to use it. What were the inspirations in terms of laying a house out like this?
Well, we wanted space, and things that you see in it, like the stone and the ironwork, were all things that I'd seen over a number of years on my holidays and looking through magazines, and it was always things that I liked in houses. So it was a matter of throwing all those things together and seeing what way it turned out, and I think it turned out fine.
Do you think that this house sums you up as a personality?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a little bit country, it's a little bit rock and roll, it's kind of the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, that's me, I'd agree.
It's definitely a fascinating house. I'm going to catch up with Des and see what he thinks about the architecture. Now, Des, this is a house that's trying to be both traditional and modern at the same time. Is it working for you?
Not for me. It falls between two stools. I feel you've got to have a convention to go one way or the other. It's a site for a modern house when you've got views like this, but the client wants something that's traditional. So you can see from this that the concept is a little bit muddled.
Well, there's definitely, I mean, there's modern touches, some of which I think are quite nice. I mean, I quite like this glass balustrade, and there are some ideas, like at the front. That turret strikes me as a good idea. I mean, it's an eye-catching,
Turret's
nice detail.
good. It shows you where the entrance is. You know automatically there's going to be something happening there, and that's where the front door is. So that's good. And it is a little jumbled on that side. You've got the retaining wall on one side, and the fact that you come to the garage first to the house is never a good thing.
In its defence, I know that this house has kind of grown from the inside out, which I always like, because I think it's nice to, think in terms of how it's going to be used. It's a family home. But obviously, this is a very, very obvious house, and that's the big thing. Because if you're having a picnic over there, there's gorgeous, ravishing area. This is what you're looking at.
Yeah, and I bet it looks great. I bet it looks great from there.
Yeah.
Because you've got the stone, and it looks like real stone from there. But when you come closer, you see it's just a veneer. You see it's a fake, which is not a good thing.
So is it a des res?
Remains to be seen.
I think some of these materials are very exciting. It's the idea of bringing the landscape in almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like a cottage inside. You know, that external wall there, the render of that is very nice with
And
the stone.
Wonderful curve, which makes it feel much, much more welcoming.
But this is a lovely space. The way it's been divided up, so you've got this really nice snug, and then you're straight through into this conservatory, so you've got another nice big bright room, and then the kitchen and the dining room.
Well, I think this is very successful because obviously this is a big area, and a lot of people would have just left it open. But in fact, by creating these little zones, creating these little personalities.
Think that is its charm, isn't it? That they have the different levels, they've divided the space up very differently. We're so used to now seeing, big open plan kitchens, very contemporary, and they don't always work. This has got a nice use of materials. You've got the York stone, you've got the stone on the wall, walnut, which is quite contemporary, but they've really thought about their use of materials.
So do you think design's moving on a bit? Are we turning our back on the modern now? Are we looking for a new style?
I think we're reworking a lot of contemporary living. People have had those big open spaces, and now they're trying to put a bit more emotion into a bit more feeling, and they're realising that the old finishes, actually, a lot of them really, really worked and made places feel a bit cosier. So I think we are.
The heart of the home again. Very interesting. Yeah. So Suzanne's getting emotional in the kitchen. How does Michael feel about the dining room? There's a distinct change of mood as you come through that door. The rustic gives way to something a little bit more grand, something a little bit more glam, actually, Michael, don't you think?
Glamour, glamour, toujours glamour. Look at this. This is glamour.
Yeah.
Mirrored fireplace.
I mean, that's quite boutique hotel. And then the wallpaper.
And the wallpaper, a great statement.
I think it's lovely, though, the idea of using pattern and colour as almost like texture.
Yeah,
in
it is a
house
texture.
Like
and this does have a texture to the wallpaper, which is nice. Beautiful window treatments, with a great header detail.
And this is nice as well.
This is a family piece that he brought from his parents' house. He really loves it. He wanted to use it here. I'm so happy when things like that happen.
Yeah, well, I think, again, getting out of the tyranny of modern houses with modern furniture.
Right, you blend it in, it's great. We're leading into the foyer here, which you have your archway into the formal living room.
Nice detail,
and it mirrors the archway into the kitchen. And then it brings us in here to the stairwell, which is the turret from the outside, which leads you upstairs to this very grand hallway that could actually be even used as a picture gallery, if you would, leading into the master suite. Again, having more wallpaper in it, which is well done in there. He's done a job of mixing wrought iron and stainless steel and silks and beautiful wallpapers to create a traditional modern. So, well done.
There we go, traditional modern. An incredibly interesting last house for today's programme. 3 fabulous houses, but will one of them have what it takes to be this year's House of the Year? Only the judges will decide. So we're back and better than ever, and we've got some astonishing architecture, some jaw-dropping locations, and some fabulous properties. Now, just like you, I was extremely impressed by those three houses, but what did our judges think? Before we find out, let's have a quick reminder. House number 1 is Molly and Jimmy's Japanese church house in County Fermanagh, a fascinating marriage of East and West, Old World and New. House number 2 is Lee and Kate's contemporary beach house in Clochey, a stylish pad that wouldn't look out of place in Malibu but realised on a very modest budget. And house number 3 is Richard Cooper's lakeside family home in Enniskillen, an impressive new build with its own tower and breathtaking views of Loch Earn. Time to find out what the judges really think.
Well, Show 1 has thrown up 3 incredibly interesting houses. What a great start to the series. Now, today we're not here to choose a winner because everyone's going through to the final. Now, Michael, you're the new kid on the block. So what did you think of the Japanese church house?
I have to say, if this is anything what the rest of the homes are going to be like, it's going to be a tough competition. And this house was really well done, integrating the old and the new together. The textures that were used, the craftsmanship was right on top.
You could see that with the way the outside was brought into the inside, was brought through to the finishes, and I think that's what really makes it work so successfully.
And it was that little link that worked the most successfully.
Absolutely. That to me was the little gem.
Which is
brilliant.
A surprise because it was so necessary externally to separate the two buildings, the old and the new.
They carried everything through, like the link corridor, it had that Gothic peak to it that carried through into the church.
The contemporary beach house, another architect designed house by Lee and Kate in Clochey.
There was great energy from the sea, from the location, and you got that because of the use of the way the windows were. So there were big windows at the seaside.
What about the feel of the interior?
The feel of the interior left me wanting more. It doesn't have to be, lackluster on a budget.
It is not lackluster. That house is not lackluster. It is genius to produce for that price. To produce something that has that beach house feel to it. It's created something that is just very simple, I think. Anyway, here's a house for you. The Lakeside Family Home. It's got you written all over it.
It does have American scale to it, which I really
know
do
him
like
so
about
well.
it. I know. It does have that American scale to it, which I did enjoy, and I did feel at home the way that they had these big, great open spaces that were used well. I wanted more from the interior. I got a little bit of it with the wallpaper and some of the window treatments that were being used.
The kitchen really worked. The kitchen and the snug, the use of space. I think Richard really put a lot of thought into that.
For me, what was most disappointing was the fact you approached the garage first. The approach of a house is very important. You come to the garage and then you come to an area of tarmac with a retaining wall. You've come in and you've sort of lost it already. Well, we have some strong contenders there.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe a potential winner.
Maybe.
We're just going to have to wait to see how they compete against the other houses in the final.
Interesting as ever, food for thought indeed from our judging panel. And we'll be finding out how those 3 do against the other properties in our series final. But join us next time, because we've got more inspirational homes as we continue the hunt to find Northern Ireland's House of the Year.